In a property market where the banks are pulling back, the rules are changing, and the clock is ticking, one brand is betting big on the next wave of growth. Fred Ohlsson ran the retail banking empire at ANZ, steered investment firms, and he's leading a specialist lender that's rewriting the playbook for property finance in New Zealand. Fred is the Group Chief Executive of Avanti Finance, and he's here to tell you exactly how smart investors can turn this market into their unfair advantage.
Financial freedom faster. Financial freedom faster.
Winners move, losers wait. The MortgageHQ snapshot is where serious players go when they're done waiting and ready to strike. No fluff, no theory, just the raw insight behind thousands of Kiwi investors' wins. Descriptions below, go and have a look. Fred, with your experience at ANZ and now Avanti, how do you see the New Zealand property market shaping up over the next 24 months?
Well, that's a big question, Andrew. One thing we do know, and certainly I've seen in the last 12, 18 months, is that we're probably getting to the bottom of the market. We've now seen inflation come off a bit. Interest rates are probably at their lowest point. I definitely see the market turning in 26. I guess the big question is really when. But the way we look at it, I would say latest mid 26, probably the market is going to move.
We spent a lot of time running big parts of ANZ in Australia. Can you give us some insight on how the markets are different and what lessons we can learn from Australia and New Zealand?
I don't think they're that different, actually, Andrew. I think Aussies and Kiwis are both obsessed about property.
Yep.
Big difference to Europe, where I'm from. And I think the one thing, and I think I can see that and feel that now, and that is we don't really allow the market to go kind of like horizontal for too long. And Aussies and Kiwis don't sit in their hands for too long. So that's why I probably think things are going to move in 26. And actually, talking about Australia already, I saw something in the paper this weekend that I think it was in Melbourne, where clearance rates at auction, they always do auction in Australia, was above 75%. So with the rate cut they had in Australia last week, maybe things have changed in Australia already.
Yeah, and certainly when the media is talking about the bottom of the market and the market is quite cold, that's when the contrarian investors start taking action. So if you're a property investor, you've been waiting on the sidelines or just checking things out, how can investors start to position themselves to start taking action?
I think all good property investors are prepared. They're kind of like on their case. They know the detail of their portfolio. So when it comes to being prepared, you know exactly your position. You might have rejigged your portfolio in the last 2-3 years when things have gone horizontally, and you're ready to pounce. And I think property investors that have been in the game for a while, if they jump in, 3 months before or 3 months after there is a potential turn, it's probably not going to matter. It's more the fact that they know they've done the homework. They're probably talking to an advisor, by the way, as well. So they know that, I am ready, and about this time, I'm ready to go.
And Avanti does help investors and first home buyers. Can you give us some insight on what a specialist lender, that's how you guys advertise yourself. Yeah. What does a specialist lender do in the home loan space?
Well, we offer long-term mortgages just like the banks do. And I guess we, in particular, help out when the banks can't help you. If that is for credit reasons, if that is for needs that are a bit more special, that takes a little bit more time to approve, that's when we kick in. Or it's also if you need bridging finance, for example. We do that, every day. We do it well, and we also do some of the property development that maybe the banks won't say yes to. And I guess that's the specialist aspects of what we do. We have a lot of technology, but we also have a lot of staff that really get to know you, your advisor, and that can help you with, specialist solutions.
Well, let's talk about bridging for a second. So there's 2 high-level different bridging options, open and closed. Yeah. Talk us through how Avanti likes to look at things and what's.
Well, for us, it's open, Andrew, because we know that customers don't always know. They might promise you something, but I would say well into the high 90s. Pretty much everything we do in the bridging space is open. And it's up to 24 months. Beyond 24 months, we probably want to then have a relook at it. But for us, it's open bridging.
So open bridging is when you've got a property,
Yeah.
it's for sale,
Yeah,
not sure when you're going to sell it.
exactly.
You've bought a new property, you need to settle on it, so your mortgage is going to be a lot bigger
Yeah.
for an undetermined period of time.
Yeah.
How are you guys testing whether people can afford that bridging?
We test that like everything else we test. So obviously, serviceability is critical. And then we look at the LVR position. And then we make sure that you can service it for 24 months. And if you can, and it's very likely that it's going to finish before 24 months,
Yeah.
by the way, but we're there for 24 months if the customer needs so.
And what's the most likely reason people have credit challenges or issues that would lead them to go to a specialist lender instead of the bank? Is it, they forgot to pay their phone bill 2 years ago? What are the main...
It can be everything from those situations, which I think you would say are minor, but often the banks say no to those things. Then it is one thing where we help customers a lot at the moment is what we call debt consolidation.
Yeah.
And that might be, again, if you go and talk to an advisor will give you the advice to maybe come back in 12 to 24 months, and then we'll talk about the mortgage. And we use our personal loan product in those situations. And that really helps customers to be what we call match ready. Because you might have the intent, you're almost there, but you actually need to sort yourself out a little bit. And then actually doing that with a good advisor, with the help of Avanti, then you can step into a mortgage in 12, 24 months' time.
So debt consolidation would be credit cards, car loans, personal loans, loans that are all over the place, bringing them into one position.
Yes, if you bring that into one, if that's for 12 or 36 months, you are much more likely to actually make a dent on that debt. You'll have a credit history if you behave and you perform that will be much more attractive for someone like ourselves, and then we can help you. And most importantly, your finances are then in order, and you want them to be in order if you're going to go for a big mortgage.
Well, debt consolidation's often misunderstood.
Yeah.
What can Avanti do to consolidate loans for investors? Is it personal loans that are secured, or are we just talking about unsecured here?
We can do personal loans that are secured, so any type of personal loans. But we come across investors too, often through our advisors, where they might have 2-3 mortgage facilities. Yeah, even simplifying that situation often helps any person in debt to actually get ahead. So I would say it is often personal loans, but sometimes it's personal loans and small mortgages, and you actually sort that out, and then you're a bit more credit match ready.
Well, let's try to get a little bit of data out of you. You guys are a privately held company?
Yep.
So maybe some of the data doesn't get out. How many loans are on your book roughly? Is it tens of thousands? What's happening with defaults around mortgages and personal loans? How are Kiwis responding to this current economic situation?
Yeah, that's quite a few questions, Andrew. I'll start with the facts around Avanti. So we're in Australia and New Zealand, but clearly the majority of what we do is in New Zealand. We have close to 300 staff now. And about 3-4 weeks ago, we broke through 3 billion. So we have 3 billion of lending out there to now more than 70,000 customers. So there's a lot of Kiwis who use our services. And I guess the thing that we really specialize in, and this is where we see a lot of the growth, by the way, because call it the specialist lenders, they're becoming more and more mainstream. If you look and compare us here in New Zealand to Australia, in Australia, about 6-7% of every mortgage that's written is with a specialist lender. And here in New Zealand, it's only around 2%. So that growth in what we do and how we can help customers in the spaces where the banks can play less and less, we see that only growing here in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So is that enough stats?
No. Are there any insights that we can share about are more and more Kiwis getting into trouble or not?
No. So when we look at our book, and I think our book is probably a good indicator, we are seeing, the two big measurements that we look at, which is 30 days past due
Yeah.
and 90 days past due. And the numbers that we are down to now at Avanti here in New Zealand is like some of the lowest points in the last 12, 18 months. So we're pretty happy with how our book is performing. But it also takes a lot of work. There's a lot of customer contacts we need to make with our customers to remind them to stay ahead of their payments. But we're in a good position, I think.
And what are the biggest mistakes borrowers are making when it comes to borrowing money on personal loans or for mortgages? If they approach you and get declined, what is the main reason?
I think the biggest mistake is probably not being prepared or actually not really knowing their financial position. It's quite easy to come and ask for more, but then you've forgotten about, one or two things that you don't have. And that will never come across well. And I think, that's where, we're a B2B business at Avanti, so we work, pretty much exclusively through and with mortgage advisors or personal loan advisors.
Yeah.
So working with an advisor before you come to us or anyone else for that matter, I think is just a good reminder for anyone.
And what about the LVR rules? Obviously, banks are constrained by the Reserve Bank rules. What options does Avanti allow for when it comes to maximizing your borrowing power?
So we allow more than what the banks do, let alone we are not held to the same DTR requirements like the banks. So again, we do only things that are responsible in our sphere, but we have more capacity to do higher LVRs than the banks do today.
Yeah. And in terms of personal loans, what are people borrowing money to do, and how much are they borrowing?
Well, it's the average lend at Avanti is around 25,000 for a personal loan.
It's quite high, yeah.
It's quite high. We allow for good customers that have the best credit score in our world to go even higher than that, up to 75,000 actually for the ones that have the best credit score. The normal reasons is still car is very high, so even an unsecured personal loan car is high. Then it is holidays and big events like, smaller renovations and or things like weddings, etc. That tends to be the top 2, 3, 4 reasons.
Yeah, and I would imagine quite a bit of your book is car loans. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
You guys
we do car loans too. Yeah.
offering white label products out there, or what sort of interest rates are we talking?
And for everything we do, we have to be very disciplined around pricing for risk. So it's probably anything in the auto space from around between 8-9% up to high teens, even low 20s for certain customers.
And interest rate cuts are on the horizon. How's that going to impact this specialist lending space?
I think it's going to impact consumers. I think it's going to impact all lenders. If you're a bank or a specialist lender, I think the biggest impact it's going to have, hopefully in the next 3 to 9 months, is that it brings a bit more confidence back in the economy. I think the economy just needs more confidence. And when consumers start to get a bit more confident, then they start to spend a bit, and we get this kind of like ignition in the economy. And I think we're all looking forward to that, actually.
Fred Ohlsson, CEO of Avanti Finance, appreciate your insights today. And it's another option if you're a borrower to consider. And you don't just have to stick with the main bank option.
Thanks so much, Andrew.
You don't want motivation, you want ammunition. Moves that work, tactics that win. The 3-property formula is the playbook that smart Kiwis are already using while the rest are still refreshing Trade Me and panicking at interest rates. No fluff, no webinars, just results from the front lines. Get the strategy, own the edge, grab the book before someone else buys your future.